Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and we've got a little bit of XRP movement today. We were up around 75 cents a minute ago, and so this is going to get. Let me push this button. We're at 1.26 trillion dollars right now. I have a feeling things are about to get really interesting. I believe that we're about to see a little bit of a ramp up in XRP, maybe a slow ramp up at first. I believe that the market is currently digesting what this ruling means, and I believe I believe things are about to get really interesting. I'll get more into that. Let's show what some of these chart guys are saying. EGRAG crypto XRP in 7 days, 777% increase. I'll take it. Mark your calendars, folks. In just 7 days, we will witness, if the stars align, and witness a jaw-dropping 777% increase. But remember, let's take this with a grain of salt while remaining open-minded to all possibilities. Fun fact and gentle reminder for haters, XRP is not a security, making it the first digital asset with clear legal regulatory clarity. That's true. Chart 8 paints an exciting picture. XRP already surging around 100%. If it continues this upward trend, brace yourselves for what could be a clear indication of 2017 bull run being in play. I like the sound of that. Dark Defender says, I respect summary XRP super bullish in 1 week, hiking ashy time frame. However, I would like to add $1.67. He says super bullish area. $1.67 is already very critical. When we see XRP above $1.67 3 days in a row, get ready for all-time high. Therefore, in a week or so, 89 cents, the major resistance is expected to be broken. XRP above whatever those clouds are. XRP in green wave trend. XRP created golden cross MACD. It all sounds good. Let's see what happens. Now, this is interesting because, and it's not just the market's digesting the XRP thing, folks. Now we're about to see the IPO, the Ripple IPO talk begin. Okay. Link2 is having who is one of my sponsors. Links in the top of the description. They're having a Spaces tomorrow at 12 o'clock Eastern time. Joe Indoso, the COO, is going to be making a few special announcements. Okay, folks, I've been warning everybody, or telling you, Ripple's private equity is on their platform right now. I'm just telling you, it's on there for now. Okay, all right, moving along. Jay Clayton, Bill Hinman helped Alibaba, a Chinese company, go public on the New York Stock Exchange in the United States. Jay Clayton, Bill Hinman, and Gary Gensler helped to prevent Ripple, a USA company, from going public in the United States. The United States has a China problem. Then we got this. Raoul Pal predicts imminent parabolic rally for Bitcoin and crypto. What he should say is imminent parabolic rally for XRP and crypto, not Bitcoin. Bitcoin had its chance, folks. Here's the way I see it. Bitcoin had its what I call personal opinion clarity for the last 3 or 4 years. Bitcoin and Ethereum did. They had their chance with their fake clarity. The market thought that they had regulatory clarity. They don't. They have a personal opinion clarity, which is not legal clarity. Okay? So, XRP is now the only one with legal clarity. So, all this Bitcoin, Ethereum talk, forget about it. The one is XRP. Write it down. Hassan Al-Anazi says after this great victory, Ripple and XRP financial institutions will rush to acquire XRP, not only in the US, but globally and in an amazing way. I agree with this, but here's the interesting rub, is how is that going to happen? Those of you who have never heard of it, it's time for you to brush up on what's called the Shane Ellis theory, because in the next week, you're going to hear a lot of talk. You're already seeing it. I just typed it in on Twitter. They say, what do you think about the Shane Ellis theory? And then they're talking about it here. All these are replies with Shane Ellis theory. And if you go down to here, this guy says, that is brilliant thread by Jimmy Valley. Shane Ellis theory may be in play for U.S. big institutions. Here's the issue, folks. So everybody's trying to get their mind around this, but the gist of it is, and the way I understand it is, that Ripple, well, actually it's on his slide. This is about the escrow. Per the ruling, Ripple may not sell XRP directly to financial institutions in the United States via written agreements without violating securities law. The escrow does not need to be burned. There are no issues distributing to financial institutions via contracts outside the United States. So they could distribute it outside the United States with contracts to sell the escrow. But what happens in the United States? Are we retail holders going to be the only way that institutions in the United States can get XRP? And if you go and look at the Shane Ellis theory, it's the whole theory is around a supply issue, basically. I'm not going to go into it today, but we may have to go down that road. But anyway, the point is that this, and that's what Jimmy Valley was getting at. How does the escrow? And what I'm wondering is if there's going to be some kind of a post-judgment settlement around this issue. I don't know. I don't know how that would work. I'm not an attorney, but it is going to be fascinating to watch how it. But I believe that retail holders were just put in a pole position as potential suppliers of XRP to the big boys. It's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds. eGrag Crypto says, do you still remember this article? JP Morgan, if Ripple wins SEC lawsuit, XRP is poised for significant adoption. All right, then Stuart Alderati was reiterating, I told you all the Bitcoin Maxis and all, they're all out in force trying to downplay the significance of the ruling. And so there's a lot, and so is Charles Gasparino's trying to downplay it. I don't know who's influencing him, but Stuart Alderati retweeted the Coinbase General Counsel's tweet and says, no question, absolutely no question, when he says, don't be misled that Judge Torres ruled that sometimes XRP is a security and sometimes it isn't. That's exactly the opposite of what she ruled. XRP itself is never a security. Here's, now I want you to see this because this is Neil Cavuto, who I don't watch anymore. Neil Cavuto downplaying to Brock Pierce. He's downplaying the significance of the XRP ruling.
One thing that's worth noting,
just kind of blows it off.
One thing that's worth noting that just happened moments ago, one of the other major cryptocurrencies, Ripple, or otherwise known as XRP, the SEC had charged them a major case going on, and XRP just won in their case against the SEC. This is an incredible event, a very important precedent of the SEC losing the biggest case that's been running for years, deeming that XRP and the trades and transactions that have occurred are not securities, which I think is really the most important thing as we're looking at what's happening here with Coinbase. Very big deal.
But it probably is, Brock, but to your point, I mean, that hasn't stopped Washington. And again, it depends on what part of Washington you're looking at. But with both parties seemingly united on trying to do something about this, it's almost like their AI involvement. Be careful what you wish for, you might get it.
One thing that's worth noting, that just
make no mistake, just think about how invested in the whole Bitcoin Ethereum narrative that all these big times are. That's why you're seeing all of these people thrash around. Here's another one. Let me show you him. This guy's Corey Klippstein, Bitcoin Maxi. The guy literally looks depressed, and I mentioned here that this is one of my guilty pleasures now, watching depressed Bitcoin Maxis try to downplay the significance of XRP being the only digital asset with legal clarity. Reminder, Bitcoin and Ethereum have only ever had what I call personal opinion clarity, the opinion of the person or people that are at the SEC or the CFTC. There has been no rulemaking or anything around any of this, folks. Remember, it's just whoever's there. Gary Gensler, Jay Clayton said Ethereum was not a security. Then Gary Gensler comes in and says, oh, he won't tell you whether it's a security. So listen to this guy. It's pretty sad.
Okay, let's pivot now. So at the same time that this Celsius news is coming in, we also just got a ruling in the SEC Ripple case. What's the significance of this?
Yeah, so in my understanding, this is actually rulings on requests for summary judgment from both sides. So it actually doesn't mean that there won't be full in-court trial litigation of these claims. What was granted, I believe, was the SEC's claim that the Ripple sales directly to investors constituted the sale of securities. That was granted, so that summary judgment did pass. It looks like there was not a summary judgment passed on programmatic sales of Ripple, of their XRP token owned by Ripple through exchanges, because that was not them selling directly from the company to the investor. It was intermediated by exchanges. So they said that did not warrant a summary judgment in favor of the SEC's position.
Now, in the last half hour, we saw Coinbase and MicroStrategy stock shoot up. So how is the industry reading into this, this document that just came out?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like on first read, they're expecting that the secondary sales may be relatively more in the clear. So when a company isn't directly shilling their securities via ICO or the way that Ripple corporate has marketed and sold Ripple token, XRP, whatever, to investors in direct sales over the years. Maybe once these things are on exchanges, there's some wiggle room there. And so I think that's why the market is hopeful.
Does this have any sort of impact on the regulatory uncertainty that everyone has been talking about? Obviously, Lummis just yesterday resurfaced her bill that, we've been talking about for a while now. What's the significance of this ruling and where regulation is headed in the U.S.?
Yeah, I think a lot of this stuff is just going to have to get regulated through courts. And so I'd say this kind of supports the thesis that, I guess Gensler and some others have been saying all along, that existing securities law is sufficient to handle digital securities, because walks like a duck, talks like a duck, acts like a duck. It's still the same thing, regardless of whether it's on different kinds of rails. And I would say this probably supports that thesis, because you're seeing case law, cases getting settled, cases getting litigated, and you'll see the establishment of precedent that other courts can follow as some of these cases work their way through the system. So it seems like the system is working. It's slow. It's ugly. It's not moving at the speed of, crypto, that's for sure. But I think this will let people gain some more clarity over time as more of these cases work their way through.
It looks like he must have popped a Xanax after he saw the ruling.
Specifically on the SEC front, does this, take the wind out of their sails with respect to this regulation by enforcement dynamic that we've seen play out the last few years?
I don't think so at all. I think, as I just sort of intimated, I believe this is actually this is a mark in favor of setting law via court cases and not having to come through with, entirely new regulation or starting a new agency like Coinbase wishes would happen or something like that. So I think you litigate these cases, and apply existing law. And I think the system will kind of just sort it out. That's what I think will happen. No judgment either way. It's just what I expect to happen.
Wow. Then this guy right here is Timothy Massad. He's former CFTC chairman. Listen to this. And this, remember, this is the only guy, when they were in front of Congress about 2 or 3 weeks ago, this was the only guy that held Gary Gensler's position in front of Congress. Listen to this.
As Romaine said, there's a lot of news today, among other things, that Ripple decision. Everybody's been waiting for it in this area. And I would say it's sort of Solomonic. I mean, there's something for everybody. Explain that decision and whether you think it makes sense to say sometimes XRP is a security, sometimes it's not.
Well, we're still sort of waiting for the full opinion, or at least I haven't seen it yet. But from what I have read, the judge decided for Ripple on some very important claims and therefore ruled in favor of its summary judgment motion, but allowed some of the SEC's claims to go forward. I think the key issue here is, how does it end up interpreting the Howey test overall? You may recall the Howey test is what we use to determine whether a crypto token is a security. And it sounds like the judge leaned more into sort of Ripple's camp than the SEC's, in the sense that it appears to say that unless the arrangement really created some post-sale rights and obligations between the parties, then maybe it's not a security. Now, again, we sort of have to analyze the full decision to really make sure of that, because the judge did allow the claims on the institutional sales to go forward. The institutional sales had a lot more optics and color around them that looked like normal security sales, whereas the retail sales, the programmatic sales did not. So we'll have to wait to see.
Yeah, important. We have to wait and see. Fair point. There is a little irony, at least in the initial reports, that it's the institutional people that need protection and the retail people don't need protection. But let me ask you whether the markets you think might be getting it right, because XRP, the token, zoomed up. Last time I checked, it was 27% up. Do you think the markets got this right?
Yeah, I mean, it did, as did some other tokens. So again, if the judge basically interpreted the Howey test in a more conservative way than what the SEC was arguing, then it is very significant. But look, it's still not going to resolve some of the basic issues we have of how do we regulate this industry. And that's kind of what I've been arguing all along. We've been too bogged down in these questions.
These people hate it. And look, John Deaton down here, he says, I've never seen so many people misunderstand a ruling. I think that's being kind. I think these guys are pretending that they don't know the ruling. Like right here, John says, wrong again, Ripple was granted summary judgment on program. Folks, we've dealt with more misdirection, lying, and all kinds of stuff over the last few years with ETHgate and all this stuff. These people, I'm not saying these people individually, I'm just saying the Bitcoin Ethereum marketing machine that we have witnessed for all these years, lying is no big deal to them. Everything's a means to an end. Look at remember when the lawsuit was going on, they told the first thing they told Charles Gasparino when he started asking the SEC, they said that they didn't go after Ethereum because the Ethereum ecosystem was fully built out, but XRP was not. That was the first thing they said. Then they moved on to something else. They kept changing it, just like with the Bill Hinman thing. First it was his personal opinion. Then it became, I think, the opinion of the corporate finance division of the SEC. And then later, I guess, I don't even remember. I couldn't even keep up with all the lies and misdirection. But nope, they've never been called out on any of that except by us. Well, I take that back. The judge did say that they seem to not have a faithful allegiance to the law. Look, here I got to follow John Deaton again because I keep being unfollowing people here. It's not me unfollowing them. Then Charles Gasparino has been activated. Hate to break it to the XRP pumpers. Ripple will be paying money on the part of this case it lost. Plus, there isn't a securities lawyer I've interviewed who thinks the part they won stands on appeal. And then John Deaton says, Charlie, those same securities lawyers told me I was wasting my time. Some laughed at me, made fun of me. My writ of mandamus that I openly acknowledged was unique, but filed for strategic purposes that played out as I had anticipated. And my motion to intervene in amicus request. I see these lawyers now saying that Torres will be overturned. Since you already owe me a steak dinner, I'll bet those lawyers regarding the appeal. They were wrong in predicting a complete SEC victor, and they're wrong now. And the Second Circuit and the Supreme Court on appeal. Here's a reminder to those same folks that I predicted the SEC would lose, but that Ripple wouldn't get a complete victory. John's been calling, and it's not just this, folks. The whole time we were fighting this thing out, don't forget, most of the crypto industry, as in 85 to 90% of it, all those Bitcoin, Ethereum attorneys and all those people, the Chamber of Digital Commerce, I'm not afraid to call them all out, Chamber of Digital Commerce, Blockchain Association, all these organizations, Consensus, the conference, did any of them ever invite John Deaton to come sit on stage with them and talk? No, they did not. Now they may be, because now that John has prevailed as the guy in the midst. Now think about this: in the midst of all of those attorneys, they're supposed to be the brightest, the Harvard attorneys, and all this. John Deaton, this guy that wasn't even a securities lawyer, was telling, he was the one that was telling the truth, and all of them tried to snicker at him and laugh at him and look down on him. Screw them. Speaking of screw them, here is Coinbase telling everybody they're no longer going to have staking. And I said, hey, Coinbase, Paul Graywall, Brian Armstrong, why not just contact Joseph Lubin over at Consensus? He's allowed to stake, not to be confused with the steak you eat. Ha ha ha. That's a Gary Gensler joke. He gets to stake all he wants. This is on his homepage. Self-custodial staking on Ethereum. Earn optimized rewards for staking Ethereum. But Coinbase has to shut theirs down. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family. Start studying up on the Shane Ellis theory. Thanks for listening.